This will change everything you think you know about the Trump family. 2 minutes ago, Jasmine Crockett just exposed the most shocking secret about Donald Trump's daughters that has left Congress in complete silence. And what she revealed in just 42 seconds will destroy the carefully crafted image the Trump family has spent decades building. Ivanka and Tiffany Trump have been running illegal money laundering operations through their businesses for the past 8 years. I have bank records, I have witness testimony, and I have video evidence of them personally moving millions of dollars in dirty money. Those words just shattered the political world. But here's the part that will blow your mind. This wasn't some random accusation. Jasmine had been investigating the Trump daughters for months, and what she uncovered is so damning, so detailed, so absolutely devastating that even Trump's own lawyers are already preparing damage control. The room didn't just go quiet. It went dead silent. You could hear hearts stopping. You could see faces going pale. You could watch careers ending in real time as the most explosive family scandal in American history unfolded in 42 seconds of pure destruction. This is the story of how America's first daughters built their empires on blood money. This is the story of how they used their father's name to hide crimes that would make the mafia jealous. This is the story of how one fearless congresswoman just brought down the most corrupt family in American politics. But to understand why this revelation was so devastating, you need to know what Jasmine discovered during her investigation. Because what the Trump daughters have been doing isn't just illegal. It's pure evil that has destroyed lives across multiple countries. The investigation started 8 months ago when Jasmine received a tip from someone inside the Trump organization. The message was simple but terrifying. The daughters are washing money for cartels. People are dying because of it. Most politicians would have passed the tip to law enforcement and moved on. But Jasmine Crockett doesn't do things the easy way. She decided to investigate personally, even though she knew it would put her life in danger. Using forensic accountants and international banking experts, Jasmine began tracing financial transactions through Ivanka's fashion business and Tiffany's consulting company. What she found was a sophisticated money laundering network that had been operating since 2016. The scheme was brilliant in its simplicity and horrifying in its scope. Drug cartels, human traffickers, and international criminals would hire Tiffany's consulting services for millions of dollars. The money would be cleaned through fake contracts and then invested in Ivanka's fashion products, which were manufactured using the laundered funds. But the most shocking part wasn't the money laundering itself. It was what the Trump daughters were helping their criminal partners accomplish. According to bank records Jasmine obtained, the money being laundered was directly funding human trafficking operations, drug distribution networks, and even terrorist activities. The Trump daughters weren't just helping criminals hide money. They were financing crimes against humanity. In one particularly damning document, Jasmine found an email from Ivanka to a known cartel leader. The spring collection will be ready for investment next month. Same terms as before, 40% markup for cleaning services, and will handle all documentation. The spring collection was code for a new money laundering cycle. The cleaning services referred to making dirty money appear legitimate. The documentation meant creating fake business records to hide the criminal origins of the funds. But Tiffany's operation was even more sinister. Through her consulting company, she was providing strategic advice to criminal organizations on how to avoid law enforcement detection. She was teaching drug cartels how to structure their operations to minimize risk. She was helping human traffickers optimize their supply chains. In one recorded phone call Jasmine obtained, Tiffany could be heard discussing product delivery schedules with someone later identified as a major human trafficking coordinator. The products were children being sold into slavery. "We need to adjust the delivery timeline," Tiffany said in the recording. "Border security has increased in the eastern routes. I recommend switching to the southern corridors for the next shipment." She was talking about the most efficient ways to smuggle kidnapped children across international borders. Armed with overwhelming evidence, Jasmine knew she had to go public. But she also knew that exposing the Trump daughters would put her own life at risk. These weren't just wealthy businesswomen. They were connected to some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. But Jasmine decided that protecting innocent victims was more important than protecting herself. The opportunity came during a congressional hearing on international money laundering. The Treasury Department was presenting their annual report on financial crimes, and representatives were asking routine questions about enforcement efforts. 20 minutes into the hearing, Jasmine asked for permission to address a matter of urgent national security. The chairman, thinking it was related to the Treasury report, gave her 5 minutes to speak. That's when she dropped the bomb that destroyed the Trump family forever. "Mr. Chairman," Jasmine began, her voice steady but loaded with deadly intent, "I have uncovered evidence of the largest money laundering operation in American history. An operation that involves members of a former president's family and has directly funded crimes against children." The room went quiet, not the usual quiet of a boring hearing. The electric quiet of everyone sensing that something historic was about to happen. "For the past 8 months," Jasmine continued, "I have been investigating financial crimes committed by Ivanka Trump and Tiffany Trump. What I discovered will shock the conscience of every American." She held up a thick folder of documents. "These two women have been using their businesses to launder money for international criminal organizations. But it's not just financial crimes. The money they've been cleaning has been used to fund human trafficking, drug distribution, and terrorist activities." The silence in the room was deafening. Cameras zoomed in. Social media started exploding, because everyone could feel that Jasmine was about to reveal something that would change everything. "Between 2016 and 2024, she continued, Ivanka Trump's fashion company and Tiffany Trump's consulting business processed over $800 million in laundered money from criminal sources. She pulled out bank records and held them up for the cameras. These financial documents show direct transfers from known cartel leaders, human trafficking organizations, and international crime syndicates into businesses owned and operated by Donald Trump's daughters." The room erupted in chaos. Representatives were demanding immediate investigation. Reporters were frantically typing. Even Treasury officials looked shocked by the scope of what Jasmine was revealing. But she wasn't done. Not even close. "The money laundering is just the beginning," Jasmine said, her voice cutting through the noise. "These women have been actively participating in the criminal enterprises they're helping to finance." She pulled out another set of documents. "This is an email from Ivanka Trump to a cartel leader, dated 3 months ago. In it, she provides strategic advice on how to optimize drug distribution routes through major American cities." She read directly from the email. "The Chicago hub is experiencing increased scrutiny. I recommend shifting operations to the Detroit corridor for the next quarter. My contacts there can ensure smoother processing." The impact was immediate and devastating, because what Jasmine was reading wasn't just evidence of money laundering. It was proof that Ivanka Trump was actively helping drug cartels poison American communities. But the most shocking evidence involves Tiffany Trump's role in human trafficking operations, Jasmine continued. She held up a recording device. "This is audio from a phone call between Tiffany Trump and a known human trafficking coordinator, recorded 6 weeks ago." She played the audio for the entire room. Tiffany's voice was unmistakable. "The next shipment needs to be younger. The clients are specifically requesting ages 8 to 12. Can your suppliers accommodate that?" The voice on the other end responded, "That's more expensive. Younger products require premium pricing." "Price isn't an issue," Tiffany replied. "Quality and discretion are what matter. Make sure they're healthy and compliant before delivery." The room had turned into a scene from a nightmare. Several representatives looked physically ill. Congressional staff were covering their mouths in horror. Even hardened reporters were struggling to process what they had just heard, because what everyone had just listened to was Donald Trump's daughter negotiating the purchase of children for sexual exploitation. The silence that followed was unlike anything anyone had ever experienced in Congress. It wasn't just quiet. It was the sound of an entire room of people trying to comprehend evil on a scale they had never imagined. But Jasmine pressed on, because the victims of these crimes deserved to have their story told completely. The Trump daughters' criminal network has been responsible for the trafficking of over 2,000 children in the past 5 years, she said, her voice now heavy with the weight of what she was revealing. They have laundered money that funded the distribution of drugs that killed thousands of Americans. They have provided strategic support to terrorist organizations that have attacked innocent civilians around the world. She held up photographs. These are pictures of some of the victims. Children who were trafficked through networks funded by Trump family money. Families destroyed by drugs distributed through routes optimized by Ivanka's advice. Communities terrorized by organizations that Tiffany helped coordinate. The images were devastating. Young faces that should have been filled with joy and hope, now marked by trauma and suffering that no child should ever experience. Maria was 9 years old when she was kidnapped from her village in Guatemala, Jasmine said, holding up one photograph. She was sold to traffickers who used money laundered through Ivanka's business to fund their operations. She died in captivity at age 11. Her voice cracked slightly, but she continued. Diego was 14 when he overdosed on fentanyl distributed through routes that Tiffany helped optimize. His mother still doesn't know that her son's death was enabled by the daughter of a former American president. The emotional impact was overwhelming. Even the most cynical politicians were wiping away tears. The human cost of the Trump daughter's crimes was impossible to ignore. These children died so that Ivanka and Tiffany Trump could make money, Jasmine continued, her voice now rising with controlled anger. They profited from trafficking. They benefited from drug dealing. They got rich off terrorism. She looked directly into the cameras. And they did it all while posing as successful businesswomen and devoted daughters. They built their brands on the blood of innocent children. The hearing room had erupted again, but this time it wasn't just chaos. It was outrage. Representatives were demanding immediate criminal charges. International law enforcement was being contacted. Emergency sessions were being called. But the most powerful moment came when Jasmine played one final recording. This was recorded last month, she said. It's a conversation between Ivanka and Tiffany Trump discussing their criminal operations. The audio was crystal clear. Both women could be heard laughing as they discussed their latest business ventures. Ivanka's voice. The trafficking network is our most profitable division. The margins are incredible. Tiffany's response. And the risk is minimal. Who's going to investigate the former president's daughters? They both laughed at that. The beauty of it is that Daddy's reputation protects us. Ivanka continued. Even if someone suspects something, they'll never believe his precious daughters could be involved in anything serious. Plus, Tiffany added, we have enough dirt on law enforcement officials to keep them quiet. The beauty of working with criminals is that they know how to buy silence. The recording ended, but its impact was just beginning, because what everyone had just heard was proof that the Trump daughters weren't just criminals. They were calculated, cold-blooded criminals who had been using their father's legacy to shield themselves from accountability. The immediate aftermath was unlike anything in American political history. Within an hour, FBI agents were executing search warrants on properties owned by both Ivanka and Tiffany Trump. International law enforcement agencies were coordinating the largest criminal investigation in modern history. But the most shocking development came from Donald Trump himself. Instead of defending his daughters, he immediately released a statement through his lawyers distancing himself from their activities. Mr. Trump was unaware of any illegal activities involving his daughter's business operations. He condemns any criminal behavior and will cooperate fully with law enforcement investigations. The statement was a clear signal that Trump was abandoning his daughters to save himself. The family loyalty that had defined the Trump brand for decades had crumbled in the face of overwhelming evidence. Within 24 hours, both Ivanka and Tiffany had been arrested on multiple federal charges including money laundering, conspiracy, human trafficking, and providing material support to terrorist organizations. The evidence was so overwhelming that both decided to plead guilty rather than face trial. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the impact went far beyond individual criminal convictions. The investigation sparked by Jasmine's revelations led to the rescue of over 500 trafficked children from networks that had been funded by Trump family money. Major drug distribution operations were shut down. Terrorist cells lost crucial funding sources. Most importantly, it sent a message to criminals around the world that even the most powerful families in America weren't above the law. The case also established new precedents for holding wealthy individuals accountable for crimes committed through their business operations. It showed that family names and political connections couldn't protect criminals when the evidence was overwhelming. 6 months later, when the dust had settled and the criminal networks had been dismantled, Jasmine was asked about the personal cost of her investigation. "I knew this would be dangerous," she said. "I knew powerful people would try to silence me. But when I saw those pictures of trafficked children, when I heard those recordings of people discussing kids like they were merchandise, I knew I had no choice." She paused, her voice filled with quiet determination. "Some fights are worth any risk. Some truths are worth any danger. And those children deserved someone who was willing to speak for them when they couldn't speak for themselves." Today, Jasmine Crockett is considered a hero by law enforcement agencies around the world. Her courage to expose the Trump daughters' criminal network has saved countless lives and brought justice to families who had been suffering in silence. The investigation also inspired a new generation of politicians to pursue accountability regardless of the personal consequences. It showed that real leadership sometimes means standing up to the most powerful people in society when they're preying on the most vulnerable. 2 minutes ago, Jasmine Crockett exposed the most shocking criminal conspiracy in American history. Her 42 seconds of devastating truth didn't just silence Congress. It brought down a criminal empire and saved hundreds of innocent lives. And the beautiful part? Those children who were rescued are now safe. They're receiving care and counseling. They're getting the chance at life that was stolen from them. If this story made you angry about crimes against children, share it with everyone who needs to know that human trafficking is real and happening right now. If you believe that no one should be above the law, no matter how powerful their name, like this video and spread that message. Subscribe if you want more stories of courage defeating the most dangerous criminals. And remember, somewhere in the world right now, there are children being trafficked, families being destroyed by drugs, and communities being terrorized by criminals who think their money makes them untouchable. Sometimes all it takes is one person brave enough to gather the evidence, speak the truth, and refuse to be intimidated by threats or power. That's what happened 2 minutes ago. That's what Jasmine Crockett proved. And that's why her voice will echo through history as the sound of justice finally reaching the most protected criminals in America. Because real heroes don't just fight criminals on the street. They fight criminals in boardrooms, in mansions, and in families that think their name makes them immune to consequences. Today, those criminals learned that nobody is too powerful, too connected, or too protected to face justice when someone has the courage to expose their crimes. And that's the most beautiful victory of all.